went to my favourite store, Core Electronics, to get the parts for this setup. I bought a Raspberry Pi 4 1 gig, which is more than enough for what we're going to use it for, the SD card, a heatsink, which is not really required, the classic case to go with it, and the standard power plug. We're now going to go to the browser and go to octoprint.org and get ready to download the software. So click on download and you should end up with a screen that looks, when you scroll down like this, it will give you some directions on how to do it. So pick your operating system and follow the installation instructions. Once the software has completed downloading, you can go into the application area on your computer and make sure the Raspberry Pi Imager software is there, and open that up and you're ready to go. Okay, so now's a good time to install the micro SD card on your computer, because we're going to be writing to that fairly soon. So we'll go down to other general purpose OS and we'll click on the other specific purpose OS, I should say, and we'll click on the arrow. Then we'll click on 3D printing on that arrow, and then we'll go to Octopi, click on that arrow and choose Octopi Stable. So that's in the blue box. Operating system's fine. We choose the storage, which is this micro SD card that we've got there, and we'll just do some advanced settings now. I don't like using the automatic keychain, it doesn't really work very well, so I go in, I use the Pi username, we don't change that, put a password in that you can remember. You'll possibly need that later if you need to access the Pi. Then we're going to configure our wireless, so we go in and put in our password for our wireless system, and I won't actually put in a password, but you understand what I mean. Put in the password that you have for your Wi-Fi system, save that, and there's some other advanced things that we need to do before we go to write, so we'll come down and do those as well. We go down, change the wireless land country to AU for Australia, scroll up until you find it. It's a bit slow process, but it works in the end, and that's everything you need to do. So then we just click on save. That's done, and now we can write our software for controlling our Pi. So it's going to erase the disk, so make sure if you're using a disk you haven't got any files on it you need to keep, and away we go. So it's got the storage loaded, so now we can go to write. Yep. My computer wants a control software. It's just a two-step process. Yours might use that to allow it to actually start writing. Now this will take quite a while. It's rather slow, and there'll be quite a few minutes between where you start writing and where the software actually finally loads to the micro SD card. So let's just speed this up a little. So now once it's done, finished the writing, when that gets to 100%, you'll see it starts to do a verification process, which isn't quite as long as the writing process, but it's still going to take a little while. So let's skip to the end of that now. And we come to the end of that, it finalizes, and then it'll write onto your card, and it's then finished, and it shows your right to continue. So there you are. You've now got Raspberry Pi 3D software, controlling software on that micro drive, that micro SD card. So now it's a matter of loading it into our Raspberry Pi machine itself, and this is a bit fiddly, so you've actually got to put the case together with the board in and then load the card in the back. It's quite a fiddly process because the board sits on 4 little pins in the case, and it's quite tricky to get that done. But once you do, you can push the SD card in with the gold contacts facing upwards. Okay, so I've now powered on the machine. I've plugged in the USB cable with power. The red light shows that the power is on, and then the little green light's flashing to show that the Raspberry Pi is actually loading the 3D control software into the system. And once that light stops flashing, then we're good to go. The software's loaded, and we can move on to making sure we're actually connected to our wireless network. So now I go to my wireless router and I find the IP address for our Raspberry Pi, and I can see it there, 86.82. So I go into my web browser and I put in that address, and with the extra question mark hashtag temp after it, and there I am. I'm in the setup wizard. So I'm now able to set up my Raspberry Pi to suit the 3D printer I'm using. So I can go in, and I don't want to restore from backup. I'm just going to go next, and I can go in and scroll down on this to the bottom of the page on this screen, because you do have to run that enable connectivity check in that blue box. And then once that's done, you can run next again, and it's up to you whether you use tracking or if you wish to block the plugins. I block the blacklisted plugins because sometimes they get taken away and they muck your system up. Then give your printer a name and tell it the model number in the bottom. Make sure all the dimensions are right. You can update that if you like, and continue to click X. Make sure you set where everything has to go, the opening spot for your print, etc. And then you can just click on finish. And when you do that, you should actually see the Octoprint installation running on your computer, and you're now ready to upload files and connect to your machine once you plug the Raspberry Pi in to your printer using a USB cable of the right size. So I hope that helps, and good luck with the installation. Thanks for watching.